I'm a technologist, and when we think of artificial intelligence or technology in a sense, we often think of technology as separate of us. But intrinsically, it is an extension of us. It's our creation. It's a mirror of us. In a sense, it is a mirror of humanity. What you see are the spirit animals on the sides generated with AI. And AI is kind of like a spirit animal. Why? Because AI is a reflection of us. It's a reflection of our collective consciousness. We train it with our output. It is basically an integration of everything we have done as humanity and contributed to this wide web of bits, zeros, and ones. Just like this Earth, with its biological organisms as an ecosystem, collective consciousness, which we are part of. Just like every single cell in a body, we are like cells in the body of humanity that creates, this living entity. And if we think of artificial intelligence something to be afraid of, we don't need to be afraid of it. Because intrinsically, it's a mirror of us. It's a reflection, a representation of our capabilities, our dreams, our hopes, our future. But it comes with responsibility. And what is responsibility is the ability to respond, that we are contributing to this wide web with our presence, but also in terms of our creative output and input into this collective web, because we are training that system and it mirrors back our capabilities. So then the question is, are we feeding this machinery the highest culture we can? Or is it the lowest culture? Is social media, with its consumer mania and self-indulged, almost narcissistic, me, follow me, subscribe to me, ego-driven brand building, personal brand building, self-centeredness, is that what we want to feed it? If we do that, we should be afraid of it. But if we feed it elevated understanding of, what is at stake, what are we doing here, we can shine light to the shadows and bring to the light, the true capability of humanity. And we elevate to power the average traumas of our past generations. Look at what's going on in the world. We are led by the least among us. This is what Terence McKenna said. We are led by the least among us, the ones who are not the wisest to carry the fire of humanity to the future. If we want to be Prometheus, to be able to carry the fire of humanity with awareness and wisdom and grace and understanding that we have almost destroyed our own home as we fight each other. It's like an immune system inside our bodies that is out of control. And just like in biohacking, the way how we restore balance in our biological organisms by bringing integrity and structure in terms of circadian rhythms, or the way how we work with the natural world, the food that we eat, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink. That awareness of how do we carry ourselves, that needs to be reflected in every single one of our actions. So if you want to change the world, you first start changing yourself. You have to start from yourself. What kind of person you want to be? And it starts from one day. How do you optimize yourself from the morning till evening? Yes. But ultimately and deeply, if you look, thousands of years back, the samurai or the yogis or the wisdom keepers, the elders, they carried certain wisdom, how they're pushing the boundaries of human consciousness. This human consciousness that we train through biohacking, where we kind of use ancient techniques of ecstasy. What is expanding consciousness? We have used different techniques. Things like sleep deprivation, drumming, dance, plant medicines, different molecules, starvation, isolation, ice baths, sauna, heat alteration, all these different ways how we push the boundaries of who we are. And in the end, that's the resilience that builds from. We exist in a very narrow ecological spectrum where life is even possible. And this is what we are kind of pushing. By holding our breath until the CO2 levels rise, or we hyperoxygenate ourselves by breathing very consciously. Technology is a mirror of us. It can reflect our capabilities. And we have to understand that it's not separate of us, it's part of us, it's part of our evolution. Just like ancient tribes unified their spirits, today digital networks mirror this unity. They both shape our collective consciousness. The wisdom of elders once guided our collective thought. Now algorithms and AI interplay in this vast realm. From sacred fires to global forums, we have always sought connection. Now modern technology revives these ancient ties, amplifying our collective voice. Just like scrolls preserved ancestral insights, digital archives protect today's wisdom. Together they form our evolving collective psyche. Temples, once unified communities in shared beliefs, now virtual realities echo this, shaping our modern collective dreams. Stone circles, once amplified shared energies, today tech networks do the same, fostering our global consciousness. And just like ancient drums synchronized our heartbeats, digital platforms synchronize our minds. Marshall McLuhan was a media theorist, and he coined the term, or popularized the term, of Teilhard de Chardin, a Jesuit that lived in the end of 1800s, as the noosphere. Just like we have the biosphere, the stratosphere, we have the noosphere. Nous is mind. How do we connect, all the minds together? And for Teilhard de Chardin, it was spirituality, it was meditation, going deep within. For Marshall McLuhan, it was electronic networks that collect all minds, and this is kind of a representation of social media. Now the question is that social media a representation of our highest self, of our highest collective purpose and meaning and wisdom? Or is it a disgrace that we all need to start really thinking, what do I want to build? Who do I want to reflect back into this system? So pyramids channel the energies of the old. Now data centers channel today's energies. Both are nexus points of our collective evolution. So when we are going to the future, of trying to understand what is expanded consciousness, it really starts from you understanding that it's really not about you. The reason why I organize these events is because I want to bring these minds together, and I'm fascinated what happens, what this vortex or kind of pulls together. I try to stay away from the center of the vortex as much as possible. Because just like Icarus, who flew to the sun and burned his wings, so does every single social media influencer burn their wings when the pressure and the expectations of their followers that only see certain facets, certain aspects of you that are actually your own creations. So that mirror, in a sense, is amplifying a limited version of you. And you start to identify with that. You start to embody that. And the disconnect from who you really are and what you expect your followers, your customers, your audience, you to be, that disconnect as it builds, many people break down at some point. I spoke about that last year with the team of the Hack the Ego. This year, it's about expanding consciousness, that you, just like in ancient techniques and practices, there's this realization that somehow the ego is clouding our ability to see, and we have to see past that. It's also trying to protect us. It's part of our survival mechanisms, in a sense. But in the end, we are not separate from our environments that we are so often afraid of. But authenticity and willingness to be your true self, to reflect that, it's rare in today's world where everyone is pretentious. Everyone has their CVs and achievements and certificates and schools they went to. But the question is like, who's behind the mask? Who's behind the mask? Avatars are the things that we create online. Avatar is a Sanskrit word that means descendant from God. What kind of descendant from God are you, in a sense? So you kind of create yourself in your own image, in your idealized image. And you try to become that idealized version. And when we go into ceremony, where we go deep into the subconscious mind and into the shadow, what I learned about pain is that if you try to run away from it, it's like a rubber band that just like snaps you right back in. But if you go into it, surrendering, ready to die, what you find is love. There's absolutely nothing there to be afraid of. Now, this presentation, by the way, is a synthesis of collective intelligence. It's not presented by me entirely. It's being channeled, and it's being aided by technology as I speak, including all these images. I've never seen these. Because of our artificial intelligence, we are able to visualize and represent, back to ourselves what this looks like. And one of the kind of key terms that I often like to talk about is that we are not human beings, but we are human becomings. And as a becoming, the question is, what do you want to become? What kind of choices you make? How do you respond? Responsibility is how you respond. And in meditation, in any kind of mindfulness technique, one of the key aspects is while you're receiving nervous system input and you're getting associations, is that you're not immediately reacting, but you're observing. And you're not resisting. Things are coming and going like a wave in a cosmic sea. And as such, we start to see that these are kind of illusions, that we suffer very little, actually. We usually suffer in our own imagination, the regrets we have about the past and the anxiety of the future. And if you have that anxiety, you are too much in your head, it helps to move into your heart, to breathe into your heart. But what a samurai does, they work from here. They don't show to the enemy what they're thinking. They're not showing emotion. But one thing they practice is how they respond. They are never the one who will use violence first. They practice their ability to respond. It's the ultimate sophistication of responsibility. And they were high in society, respected, highly educated, trained in their wisdom. I'm from Europe, and if you look at kind of what could be the founding pillars of Europe, you see the ancient Greek philosophers. I'm a big fan of Stoic philosophy. And just like many biohackers are interested in that, because there's this kind of realization that life is suffering, regardless if you are the leader of a country or if you are a prisoner of that country. But in both cases, as much as you are limited in a sense, there's a lot of things that are limiting what you can do. There's always freedom to choose what leg you will wake up in the morning, how you are going to take your next breath. And as long as there is freedom to choose, you can develop virtues, character, consciousness, and awareness that comes from the right place. So you can't always, affect the things that are outside of you. Most likely you can't. But at least you can cultivate how you respond. And this all kind of ripples into our collective responsibility as well. Now, as ancient wisdom and ancient technologies meet modern technology and modern wisdom, this is kind of what we see happening in biohacking. Every year, I'm thinking like, what is the thing that really needs to be discussed? What is the theme that we really need to tap into? What could bring us together to create something beautiful that is worth carrying forward, like fire of the humanity, as the fire of the humanity. And to me, that's truly ultimately what human becoming is all about. It's not about you. It's about us, how we become. So many of us wake up with this device. We go to sleep with this device. It's an extension of our hand, just like Marshall McLuhan described. The phone is an extension of your ear. The car is an extension of your feet. The electronic medium is an extension of your nervous system. social media, social technology is an extension of our minds as well. Now, how do we bring, the heart and the understanding and the chi and the ki back into it? Now, psychedelics, tryptamines that are, in a sense, derivatives of serotonin, a neurotransmitter. Some of them are even produced by your body, is capable, innately produce that, like DMT, that seems to protect us in the moment of death by transporting us into another dimension. So you go through your life and there's always this place and this mechanism that will, bring peace and understanding and awareness that is beyond you. It has become optional to go through that initiation while you're still alive so that you understand, something. And many traditions deliberately induced those states. They deliberately produced those states through initiation. Different types of initiation. Usually when you are just about to move from your teen years to adulthood. So we have different initiations. Now, what psychedelics can do, they can produce an initiation to death, an ego death, where when you come back from there, you understand something more deeply and more fondly. And just like one gentleman last night said to me, I don't trust people who haven't taken psychedelics. Because maybe there is some lack of understanding, but psychedelics are not a shortcut. People often take them. And I think they're a reflection of our fast food culture. We want things fast food, and also fast enlightenment. It used to take a lot of time to sit in meditation, to do yoga. It's something that the modern man doesn't have patience for. So we go, into ayahuasca ceremony thinking we're going to solve our business problems there. Like people from Silicon Valley, they go to the Amazon with their cultural appropriation, with their feathers in their hats, thinking about, how they're going to change the world. In the end, the process of enlightenment or becoming aware or becoming, there is no shortcuts. It's an iterative process. It's never ending. It's always evolving. And you should, as you go into it, be humbled by your limited understanding. That there's something that is greater, that is beyond you. Now, just like we are a reflection of our technologies and reflections of the people we surround ourselves with, you're kind of the average of the people you choose to be close to. And you are what you consume in terms of media and food. But somewhere there is an intention. There's something with curiosity that wants to understand. To conclude, channeling artificial intelligence and collective intelligence, my own intelligence, I will read these words as a prayer to the sacred psychedelic state. In the sacred state of purest gaze, the universe dances in endless ways. No past reactions cloud the view. No egos, distortions are accepted here. Ambitions, desires, all motivates faith as the sword of clarity takes its blade. Freedom unfolds with every breath. Embracing all, life conquers death. The pain of the past, its imprints fade. In the presence of love, no shadows are made. May each of us be blessed to find this universal mind of love and light, so pure, ultimate, and refined.